All right, guys. Injuries for today. Dre Greenlaw, groin, will be limited. Aziz, knee, limited. Hufanga, knee, limited. Garoppolo, thumb, limited. Elijah Mitchell won't practice, knee. Tart, groin, limited. Which, limited. He's with where he's at in the protocol. Trent Williams, elbow, won't practice. Marcel Harris, Achilles, limited. George will not practice, not injury related. And Trent Cans, we're opening up in his practice window today. Go ahead.
Hey, Kyle, just on Elijah and Trent Williams. With Elijah, is that just, kind of maintenance? And, is there any chance he would have a problem playing in this game? And then just any update on Trent Williams' possible availability for Sunday?
Yeah, Elijah's in the same boat he was in last week on this Wednesday, and Trent is better today than he was on Sunday. But still, I'm hoping he'll be ready for the Sunday.
Yeah, Kyle, we still have to see Jimmy with another and thrive in another 2-minute situation to come back and tie the game. Something he's done a few times this year. He did it the first time he ever started a game for you against the Bears in 2017. I'm just curious what you think are the factors that go into him thriving in those situations.
I think he's a real good quarterback. The way he can throw it, how quick he can get rid of it despite the protection. And he's made good decisions. When you're in those situations, that's when pass rushes tee off. So that's when they become real hard. And sometimes you block them well, sometimes you don't. And when you don't, if you get sacked, usually it drives over. But Jimmy's done a real good job of being able to get rid of it. And then when we've blocked, always been able to hold on to it, which to me allows you to succeed in those situations.
Kyle, after getting a chance to study the Cowboys, what are some of the things that stand out to you as maybe the biggest challenges going into this game?
You can see why they're in this position. Just offensive, defensively, special teams. Their numbers are off the charts on both sides, in both phases. They got very good talent. They got very good schemes. Watching their defense, it looks so much to me like a Dan Quinn defense. He's changed a lot schematically and coverages and everything, but the way those 11 guys play and attack the ball and go for the ball, he's got them going. And it's not a coincidence they're leading the league in getting turnovers. Their offense, starting with their quarterback, he's a great player. Kellen does a real good job schematically, especially with the receivers they have and the 2 running backs they have and the O-line they have. So very talented team, and it's very obvious why they're in this position.
Kyle, kind of blending those two things in terms of just Jimmy Garoppolo's, all the interceptions we've seen him over the years. I'd imagine one, him more. He's the quarterback better than any other quarterback you've coached. And then, so when he throws an interception, what do you see that triggers him to rebound on that next drive?
Honestly, no difference is that when he throws an interception. When you let that ball rip and you're not scared of failing, it doesn't always go perfect. And you watch a lot of good quarterbacks in this league, and some do a really good job of never having picks, which is very rare. But even look at some of the great ones. They're going to get some interceptions. They're aggressive with it, and sometimes when they're like that, you can keep both teams in the game. But usually they get you over the hump if you keep swinging. And that's how Jimmy's always been. Sometimes it's better than others. But, when you throw the ball like that and you don't sit there and if you're not scared to fail, sometimes that stuff happens.
I know that Debo's weight initially was a concern for you guys when he came in 2019. And Wes made that a pet project of his. Where are you now as far as how big he should be? Because he seems to that weight seems to be a part of his game, throwing that weight around. What's your stance on that now?
Oh, we're still the same. We challenged Debo with it. Debo's always going to be big and solid. We just want him to be, the way he the way he plays the game, sometimes, it takes some, it's harder for him to practice all week and stuff. And that's when you got to be careful. When you're too sore and stuff to practice, when you're naturally like him, you're going to put on some weight, and then it's tough to play receiver when you're like that. So mainly Debo, he's been so, he's been awesome here since the offseason to this season, throughout watching his weight in terms of how he eats, how he practices, everything. And he's kept it way under control, and I think it's helped him stay healthier and led him to more success.
Kyle, how would you describe how Dre Greenlaw played on Sunday? It looked like he was pretty amped up, maybe a little rusty, maybe a little overamped. What does he bring to the table, and just how important is it for him to just kind of get settled in and get his feet under him again?
I thought him playing out there was like watching Mike Tyson with the uniform. First of all, I think he looks like him, his face a little bit. But he was so in the zone. Honestly, if I was a fan, I probably would have been wearing his jersey in the stands that day, because he plays a way that I love to watch, and we gotta be careful with that. He did get he got a couple personal fouls and stuff, and it's a very fine line. But when you can play with that aggressiveness, that energy, guy hasn't played all year, and you can see how much he liked playing football. We didn't know how much he was going to be able to go, and he went pretty much every play. And just to see it, and you can see it in his eyes, and the way he looks in his eyes is the way his actions are in the field. And he is very inspiring to us as coaches and players, and I feel like he inspires our fans too. So having Dre out there is a huge difference, and we really enjoyed it.
Well, a lot of people, myself included, throughout the season had made the case that you should probably play Trey Lance more, and the results sort of spoke for themselves, I guess. What did we miss from your vantage point in terms of, what did we miss about Jimmy, and that gave you, unwavering belief, I guess, throughout the entire season?
I'm not sure. I think it's human nature, I guess, and I think it's when you trade up and everyone's real excited and you get a quarterback in the first, in the third pick of the draft. I think everyone's waiting to see, and just very rarely do two quarterbacks play. We did a little bit at the beginning of the year, but that's just not something that happens much. So I think as soon as you have a bad record and things don't look right, regardless of whether you have a backup on the bench that everyone wants to see or whether you don't, when you're 3-5 and you've lost 4 in a row, whether you're the coordinators, the head coach, or the quarterback, people, that's just how it is. And when you got a rookie sitting there on the bench, and it's what's expected. That's what I kind of like about our building, that I don't think it's something that people missed. It was just, that's what you expect. That is what happens. And when you have an organization that, to me, doesn't, we don't splinter in here. Guys aren't going to just get caught up in that stuff and come and force anything like that. And it allows you to make the right decisions. And when you watch the tape, I didn't think Jimmy was playing that bad. I thought as a team there was a number of things we weren't doing well. But when you go back, and we'd all go back and watch the tape every Sunday night, Monday, that isn't what we saw. And we did think Jimmy was still giving us the best chance, and we wanted to give Trey more time, not only just for him, but also for our team. And so it wasn't a tough decision. We just stuck with it, and because that's what the right decision was, based off of film and based off of what we are in our building and our practice. And I'm glad the guys have come through and got us to this point, and I'm real glad we're still playing.
Kyle, Dan Quinn spoke on Monday about how what he respects about you most is how you've adjusted your scheme for each organization and the players that you've worked with. What do you see from him, and what do you respect about how he's adjusted throughout his, since you've coached together?
It was cool watching him, because I haven't got to play against him since 19, and I know exactly what, they were very similar in 19 to how it was when I was there. But just watching him now, got Dallas, it's still his style. They play the exact same way, and it's very obvious when you see him on tape, and that's the coolest thing about Dan. But just coverage-wise and stuff, it's very different. Not as much cover 3 and the type of man coverages they're doing, and it's impressive for Dan to do it a certain way his whole career, and then to make the adjustments, mainly probably because of his personnel, just stuff that he wants to add. But looks like his first time doing it, at least since I've known him, and it's definitely been very good, and it's hard to deal with. But who he is doesn't change. He's a motivator, and he gets those guys to rush the quarterback. He gets them to play hard, and that team is very tough to beat.
When you're putting in a new play, especially this late in the season, how do you like for example, the Debo pass to the end zone? How do you get yourself to a point where you're comfortable with that play and you haven't run it all year, but get to a point where you're pretty confident that it's going to work in the game?
You're confident based off all the runs that you're doing. You're not just the play doesn't work because it's a cool play. I mean, the play works because of how good our O-line blocks, how good our tight end blocks, that gets our Debo to the edge, how good our receiver cracks on safeties, what Juwan usually does, and how hard Debo is to tackle for a corner coming around outside the numbers. And when you can do that a bunch and our players have gotten to those spots, it kind of just sets it up to where it would be a pretty bad play if we weren't running the ball like that. And that's just a credit to our guys and, what they do to the defensive players.
Hey, Kyle, excuse me. You had talked briefly earlier in this season about, I guess, you gained more of an appreciation for the run game when you were with the Texans. And obviously you had big numbers, but not maybe the team success. If I've got my story roughly straight. You just talk about, was there, no.
It's all right, though.
Well, I'll go ahead with this. If I've got that partially right, did you have any sort of epiphany or just a moment where you began to develop even greater appreciation for the run game in your career?
Yeah, I think, the more you do anything, then you to me, you become who you are based off of the good and based off your life circumstances and experiences. And when you're a play caller, I think what you're trying to say is my first 2 years in Houston, we didn't run the ball at all. And we threw it all the time. I think we were 31st in rushing my last year there and first in passing. And I think the year before, I think we were third in passing and I think 17th in rushing. So I had 2 years as a coordinator, and the way our quarterback was, the way our receivers were, we were just built to throw. And so you knew how to do that. And then I went to Washington and you try to do the same stuff and you realize you got to do different stuff with different players, and you start to adjust and figure out what you need to do, and you learn the importance of everything, and getting forced to do certain things based off your personnel, I do think helps you grow as a coach. So then when you feel like you can do both, you don't just abandon one because you understand through your experiences why you have to be able to throw the ball. You have to be able to run the ball. We ran the ball really well versus the Rams, and I think that was only because we threw the ball well. In both of those games, if we didn't have two of our best third down games throwing the ball, you would not have seen those type of runs. So I think it all ties together, and I also think it helps you win games is what you learn the most, because the more you run the ball, the less chance you have usually of penalties, usually of sacks, and most importantly, interceptions.
Two more?
I don't know if this was by accident or just kind of the way it worked out, but it seems like you and Debo have a conversation before just about every practice, maybe before games too sometimes. What are you guys talking about? What do those conversations usually kind of consist of?
Anything. Debo's a real easy guy to talk to. He's, and during that, he's not doing much on special teams at that time, so he usually just comes over and we chit-chat a little bit, and sometimes it's about how he's feeling, it's about the practice, sometimes it's about the team we're playing, sometimes it's about his family. He has a little boy that is already holding I think he's 3 weeks old, and he's already holding his bottle by himself, so he's just convinced that means he's going to be a top pick in the draft. So he's very proud. But Debo's an awesome guy to talk to. I'm his coach, so consider a friend though also.
Last one.
Kyle, with Juwan, it's so obvious that he loves football and is just so happy to be in the position he's in. What does that bring to the locker room and to the huddle, just to have that kind of infectious enthusiasm?
Oh, so much. I mean, you guys know how we felt about Bourne around here our first few years, where I used to call him kind of our mascot because he was just, his personality never changed. And Juwan's similar. They're definitely different though, but he brings that same type of energy. And Juwan, he's going so hard. He's always borderline, I say 95% blacked out, which makes you play at a certain level, which is awesome. But that 5%, he knows how to play within the lines and be smart about it. But guys feed off of him. I mean, I remember Debo saying to me, yesterday, he couldn't believe some of the stuff Juwan was doing out there during the game. When you see guys play that way and have that attitude, it's very inspiring, and it makes you enjoy football just being around him. And I think that's why people like watching him too. And he's helped us a ton.
All right, thank you, Coach.
All right, thanks, guys.
Good afternoon, guys. How you guys doing?
Doing well, Coach. Quick Robbie Gold question. How much punting does he get in during a week, during an off season? It seemed like he kind of picked that up or it was easy for him almost in that game.
Yeah, well, you can ask Robbie about off season punting, but Robbie's an athlete, and he can punt, he can throw, he can do all of those different things, and he prides himself on being more than just a kicker. He prides himself on being a football player and knowing all facets of the game. So it doesn't surprise me that he was able to go in and help us win the football game there. And he did a very nice job, and we're really proud that he was awarded NFC Special Teams Player of the Week as a team, and all of the guys are fired up about that. So it's definitely a good thing.
Another part of that equation was Kyle Juszczyk coming in there and holding. That's a lot of pressure on a guy in a game that's so big. How did he approach it? Did he come up and talk to you? Did he seem nervous, or was he fine about everything?
Yeah, good question, Jen. Juice is always in tune with every situation. He knows if someone goes down like Mitch that he has to hold, and Juice is a consummate pro. There's no nervousness in him at all because he's ready for that situation. I mean, just to kind of highlight what type of pro he is, Juice has worked on that every week, every Thursday when everybody goes in. After practice, he never complains about it. He's done it, every Thursday for the last 5 years. So when he's gotten into that situation, he's ready to go, and he's confident, and he did a phenomenal job getting Robbie laces, and Tabor Pepper stepped his game up to another level as well, giving him all great balls to put down. But that is a tremendously difficult situation for Juice to be in. Robbie and Pep as well, and those guys did what they needed to do to help the football team, and we're playing January ball is what we want to do. So,
Richard, I'm sure one of the things you like about Mitch is his willingness to kind of stick his nose in there in certain situations. Obviously, the flip side of that is that it can lead to things like what happened on Sunday. What is the fine line there in terms of what you want Mitch to be willing and able to do in those situations?
Yeah, we never want any player to put their self in harm's way by lowering their head. We just coach, and I'm not saying Mitch did on that particular play, but you just want to turn it back to the pursuit. And if he can get him down, great, he can get him down. But really, I'm not upset with Mitch on that play in terms of his willingness to try to make a play there. Would love for him to not have to make a play and us to cover the field and not get stacked, which is what we've been really good at here on punt coverage. So the guys are really upset that they finished in the top 10 when they should have finished in the top 5. They had a goal that they were chasing to beat the record that was set here in year 1 when those guys were top in the league, and I think someone told me they finished 7th in the history of the National Football League as many years as football's been played. So they're upset about that play, and they're upset that ball got to Mitch. But we got it corrected, and we're ready to move forward.
You said Tabor Pepper took his game to a different level. Can you just elaborate on what that means to a layman and from a long snapper? Yeah.
So on field goal snaps, which some people call short snaps, in particular, you would like the laces to be between 10 and 2 if you were looking at a clock, and the closer you can get them to 12, the more they're straight away facing the goalpost, which is the way the kicker likes the ball, because if he can strike it there at the sweet spot of the ball, then it has got a better chance of traveling and going through the uprights. And Pep was right on. He was dead on for Juice. And he was between 10 and 2, if not at 12 at damn near all 5 of those snaps. So just him taking it to that level, knowing the moment, feeling the moment, and being excited for the moment. I'm so happy for Pepper, and I'm happy for obviously Juice, Robbie, and the whole rest of the field goal team.
Did you sign one of the 2 punters to the practice squad that tried out this week?
Yeah, we did. We signed Ryan Wislow as a precautionary because you guys, as you know, like Kyle said, Mitch is in the protocol, so we'll see how that goes. But we did sign Ryan Wislow, who's punted and has some experience this year punting, and he's a good player.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Faithful, click here to subscribe.